Kinabatangan, one of the wildest river systems on the planet. Flowing through magical landscapes from steamy jungle highlands, through otherworldly floodplains, to its ultimate destination, the vibrant Sulu Sea. Along its course, the astonishing is commonplace. This is home to the exquisite, the bizarre, and the rare. A land in which ancient cultures coexist with prehistoric predators. Where new species are discovered almost daily. This is a wild frontier that is changing fast. The fate of this mighty waterway hangs in the balance, and those who champion its cause are striving to preserve all that is unique about the Amazon of the East. Flowing through the northeastern tip of Borneo and stretching 560 kilometers from source to sea, the Kinabatangan River is the lifeblood of Sabah, the land below the winds. Our story begins, as does the river itself, in the misty heart of Sabah's highland rainforests, a realm dominated by giants and home to those uniquely adapted to live in their shadows and in their branches. Here, traditional people are balanced precariously between old and new worlds. The fragile equilibriums of this wild frontier are threatened by turbulent times. At the spectacular Imbak Falls, the life-giving Kinabatangan River is born. Canoeing up Imbak Canyon on his way to Imbak Falls, acclaimed wildlife photographer Cede Prudente is about to embark on the quest of a lifetime. In a never-before-attempted voyage, Cede is planning to photographically document the varied web of life that depends upon the Kinabatangan River from source to sea.
I'm at Imbak Canyon, the upper reach of Kinabatangan. This is where I start my journey.
I've been photographing wildlife along the Kinabatangan River for about 20 years. As a wildlife photographer, it doesn't get much better than this. The variety of wildlife found here is truly remarkable. Getting the right moment, it is inspiring.
But Cede is driven by more than just a passion for imagery. He's on a personal quest to highlight the challenges facing this unique river system, one with which he shares an intimate connection.
The Kinabatangan River is a corridor of life, but the life it supports is under threat. Human encroachment, pollution, overexploitation are threatening the natural world here. By documenting the varied and unique life along the river, I hope to show the world why it should be protected.
This is not a journey Cede can do alone. To enlist the help of an old friend, he's heading downstream to the nearby village of Imbak. A number of distinct indigenous tribes known in Borneo as the Orang Sungai, meaning people of the river, depend on the Kinabatangan for their way of life. The remote village of Imbak is the westernmost township along the Kinabatangan River. It is home to members of an ethnic group known as the Dusun. For hundreds of years, the Dusun have travelled along the course of the river, fishing and trading, hunting and gathering. Even along the wildest river in the world, they have a particularly fearsome reputation. Historically, the Dusun were notorious as headhunters. Although the practice died out in the late 1800s, interestingly there was a brief resurgence in the 1940s. During the Second World War, the atrocities committed by the Imperial Japanese Army permeated throughout the Pacific region. Borneo was no exception. But the Dusun were ready to exact their revenge. In 1945, when it became clear that the Allies would retake Borneo, many Japanese soldiers fled into the dense jungle where they fought on with suicidal determination, taking a heavy toll on advancing Allied forces. To combat these guerrilla tactics, the British posted a bounty on Japanese heads. And the Dusun rose to the challenge, emerging with their trophies from the jungle to be paid per head by an astonished Allied contingent. The practice itself has long since died out, but many traditions remain in the background of daily life. Logging and agriculture are now the primary industries in the area, employing the majority of villagers. The modern world has come to Imbak. Of course, with it comes change. While the arrival of roads, of power, of industry has generated new forms of income for local villagers like Mislan, the impact upon his traditional ways is keenly felt.
Ada kurang sedikit kami sudah memburu sebab kami ada kebun sawit sudah kan masih luas-luas. Itulah tambahan kehidupan kami.
While supermarket goods are available in village stores, many are beyond Mislan's means. So, as with his forebears, he relies upon his surroundings for sustenance.
Pendapatan yang lain di sungai lah memancing dan di kebun lah pergi kebun.
Traditional hunter-gathering is also practiced to supplement family larders. And because men like Mislan and his uncle Senari, a village elder, think it is important to balance the benefits of the modern world with the richness of their culture. Medicinal plants are harder to find than edible ones, but they are there for those who know where to look.
Kalau dulu ramai obat-obat di hutan ini, tapi pembalakan untuk bikin ini kelapa sawit kan, tanam kelapa sawit, berkurang adalah dia punya obat-obat.
For centuries, the animals and plants of the surrounding jungle provided all that the Dusun ever needed. The secrets of these riverine forests are deeply rooted in their culture. Senari takes the opportunity to pass on ancestral knowledge before this too disappears.
Ini kan obat ini daun kukuk kan. Jadi cara-cara mengenal dia, dia licin lah. Dan dia ada lembut sedikit lah kan. Dan dia punya sebelah sini putih, dia punya belakang kan. Ini untuk budak-budak punya, kasih turun panas lah. Dia demam kan, kegunaan dia.
One day, Mislan will need to pass this knowledge on to his children. But now, he must use the tracking skills that he learned when he was a child. It's time to hunt.
Sebabnya kami memburu di hutan sebab kami tidak mampu lah untuk membeli di luar yang dijual daripada bandar, ini lembu, ayam. Banyak laluan, kijang, pilanduk. Bagus kita buat pirangkap sini nih.
These intricate trapping techniques have been passed down through generations, and both men are keen for these traditions to be kept alive.
Perangkap ini memang penting daripada zaman sekarang ini yang mudah buat belajarlah supaya tradisi perangkap ini tidak hilanglah sampai akhir zaman.
Once the snare has been set, patience is the name of the game. It may take 2 or 3 days before an animal springs the trap. These highland rainforests have seen the evolutionary rise of a number of unique species, not the least one of the tallest and most endangered rainforest trees in the world, the dipterocarps. Perhaps nothing illustrates the fecundity of the place so well as this tree. It has been recorded that on one single dipterocarp tree, up to 1,000 different species of insect can live and thrive. But there is another emergent tree in the forest that dwarfs even these towering giants. Mislan and Senari seek out one such tree, a tree that their family has visited for generations, the mighty Mengaris. It towers more than 80 meters above the forest floor, and when conditions are just right, it too attracts insects, honeybees.
Kapan tahun diambil, dia ada musim saja itu. Kalau kayu ini dia kuat berbunga, ada dia punya masa kuat berbunga, dia pun ada juga itu madu. Kalau tiada, dia pun 2-3 tahun memang tiada itu.
Honeybees often choose to colonize Mengaris trees because their slippery trunks and high branching canopies afford protection for the hive from would-be predators. But Mengaris only flower every few years, so the rare presence of a hive is both fortuitous and short-lived. Mislan and Senari are in luck. Wild honey is a valuable commodity in the village, but gathering honey in the wild is fraught with danger. Not only is the hive 40 meters overhead, but if the bees attack in a swarm, the results could be fatal. Using the remaining daylight, Mislan and Senari quickly prepare a series of ladder rungs which the younger man will use to climb the tree. They're waiting for it to get dark, when the worker bees become less active. Any light source, even moonlight, could precipitate an attack.
Kalau lebat menyerang, terpaksa kami turunlah, tahan sambil turun pelan-pelan sampai tanah.
As night falls, Mislan nails the rungs into the tree, securing them carefully with twine and climbing as he goes. It It's tricky work, and there are no safety nets. While Senari sets a fire below the tree to draw any angry bees away from Mislan, his nephew arms himself with a burning brazier to clear the hive. As the sparks fall to the ground, the awakened and enraged bees take off in pursuit of the embers. Mislan has to work fast. His efforts meet with success. He returns safely with a bucket full of prized honeycomb.
Semasa saya di atas, ada yang gigit, cuma saya turun ikut tangga itu adalah ada dua lah yang menggigit.
The pain is well worth it. Back in the village, the honey will fetch $50 a litre. Sadly, as this forest continues to dwindle, Mislan and Senari are unsure whether the tree that their family has relied upon for generations will survive to see another season. Life here is changing. In the face of rapid development, the cultural values and traditional ways of life of these proud Dusun people are being challenged. But while their future is unclear, Mislan and Senari are determined to preserve precious elements of their cultural heritage. It's a determination shared by photographer Cede Prudente. All too aware of the changing face of the region, Cede has made his way to Imbak village and has met up with old friend and Orang Sungai river guide, Rizal. Hailing from downstream, Rizal has lived his life by and on the Kinabatangan. His keen eye and intimate knowledge of this mighty waterway will be invaluable as he joins Cede's quest to reveal the extraordinary abundance of life that depends on this, the wildest of rivers. The island of Borneo makes up a mere 1% of the global landmass, and yet it supports 6% of the world's biodiversity. A thriving hotbed of evolution, its capacity to nurture life is matched only by the mighty Amazon River basin of South America. Borneo's isolation has created unique selective pressures, and just as importantly, the island sits at the epicenter of the monsoon region. Situated between the continents of Asia and Australia, it is drenched by monsoon rains not once, but twice a year. And it is the unique species that have adapted to life amongst these ancient giants that have drawn Cede and Rizal to these highland forests.
Cede, Kulugo. There's a Kulugo, a flying lemur. It's now resting, well camouflaged on the tree trunk. This is one of the largest glider in the world. They're one of the fascinating, weird creatures of our forests.
Usually nocturnal, with saucer-like eyes for seeing in the dark, Kolugos are mammals uniquely adapted for flight. Thanks to a membrane of skin that stretches from limb tip to limb tip, making a perfectly rectangular aerofoil, Kolugos can glide 70 meters.
The Kulugo is difficult to find. Getting a shot of it gliding must be in the book.
Cede and Rizal are fortunate to have trekked their way to the right place at the right time.
Yes, I got one shot. I just need one shot.
Before they return to their boat, Rizal's instincts tell him that another intriguing species might be resident in the area. It's a Draco lizard. Just 20 centimetres in length, the Draco spends the majority of its life high in the treetops. This male extends a bright yellow dewlap, a flap of skin under its chin. He's advertising for a mate.
As a photographer, what I'm looking for the Draco, one is the neck flap, when the male flapping its neck to attract female.
Like many other species of lizard, the Draco is an adept climber. But one truly remarkable adaptation sets it apart from all others. It can fly. It can spread out folds of skin attached to its movable ribs to form wings, allowing it to glide for up to 8 meters.
When they glide, they have that beautiful membrane, backlit from the sun. That's the shot I would like to have. That's the one. Nicely backlit, gliding. You can see the membrane, and one for the book.
Having documented some of the unique species to be found amongst the towering dipterocarp trees, Cede and Rizal return to the river to continue their downstream journey. As the Kinabatangan descends from the highlands, the topography and vegetation begin to change. The towering dipterocarp trees give way to lower fruit-bearing canopies, and it is here, in the foothills, that larger mammals begin to appear. The Bornean pygmy elephant has only recently been confirmed as a distinct species of elephant. The knowledge that it is distinct greatly increases its importance. Primarily located along the Kinabatangan River, less than 1,500 of the species survive in Borneo, making it the world's most endangered elephant. The pygmy tusker depends on the river for hydration and food, feasting on the tall grasses that line the banks. The mineral salts found within the silt are also important. A mineral bath removes parasites and nourishes the skin. Although accustomed to their presence along the river, Cede remains in awe of these majestic animals and is always keen to capture a new image.
The elephants in the Kinabatangan migrate up and down the river, so they reaches from the coastline of Kinabatangan right up the upper stream of Imba Canyon. The river is their life, just like the people. They're part and parcel of this whole ecosystem. The loss of habitat is the main threat. Without the habitat, we will lose the species.
As with the people in the area, the coming of the modern world is having a marked impact upon the elephant's lifestyle. In the name of development, the jungles of Borneo are being cleared at an unprecedented rate. The island has already lost 50% of its rainforest. What remains is becoming increasingly patchy. The phenomenon, known as forest fragmentation, is one of the greatest threats to biodiversity in Borneo. One effect of fragmentation is that it forces elephants to cross developed land in order to reach other forested areas. It forces them close to the villages. And this brings the Bornean pygmy elephant into conflict with the local people and plantation workers. To protect their crops, villagers try to scare the elephants away, confronting them with burning tires and deafening sound waves produced by homemade cannon fire. It is a dangerous conflict that each year injures and kills both elephants and humans. To meet the challenge, the Regional Wildlife Department has established the Wildlife Rescue Unit, a specialised team made up of rangers and veterinarians which manages an elephant sanctuary to care for elephants caught up in the conflict. For Wildlife Rescue Unit Senior Ranger JB, looking after wild elephants is a lifelong vocation.
Untuk saya, gajah salah satu daripada haiwan ataupun binatang yang cukup istimewa ataupun spesial. Dan itu sebab saya sudah lebih 30 tahun untuk bertugas dengan gajah. Dalam kita punya tugas Wildlife Rescue Unit, di mana kalau berlaku kes-kes yang serius, tugas kita adalah untuk menyelesaikan masalah ini, yaitu dengan tangkap dan pindah gajah itu satu kawasan yang lain supaya tidak mengganggu kawasan kampung tersebut ataupun di ladang-ladang.
Elephants are highly intelligent creatures and quick to learn. Rapidly deciphering scare tactics employed by farmers as relatively harmless, the elephants occasionally respond aggressively. In these situations, conflict easily escalates.
Masa pagi di Kampung Gambaran, suami istri mau jalan pergi kerja, kemudian jumpa dengan gajah inilah, di mana kemalangan berlaku. Gajah ini langgar dengan istri dia. Kemudian dia punya laki, kemudian gajah lari. Nasib baik, cuma keadaan kulit ini terkupas, tidak ada yang patah. Sekitar kampung merasa jadi trauma.
For the safety of all, the bull was transferred to the sanctuary.
Satu hal, kalau kita biarkan gajah terus masuk ke kawasan ladang, kadang-kadang orang tembak, bunuh, dan kampung pun...
While JB is tasked with smoothing over conflict between villagers and elephants, it is wildlife veterinarian Dr. Laura's job to tend to any animal caught up in the fray.
Before I went to the sanctuary, I never met an elephant before. That day when I see elephant, I know this is majestic animal. So I was like, this is something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
This is Priya, a 5-year-old baby pygmy elephant and Dr. Laura's latest charge. Accidentally caught in a snare intended for smaller game, Priya received a nasty laceration to his ankle. Left unattended, infection would quickly have claimed Priya's life. With the aim of repatriating the young bull back to the forest, Dr. Laura is charged with nursing Priya back to health. It's the beginning of a lifelong relationship.
Usually the Borneo elephant, they will live up to 50 to 60 years old in the wild. So at the age of 5, we might bump into each other again in the future. Yeah, we never know. but I hopefully know.
The Wildlife Rescue Unit receives a call from a nearby village. A herd of elephants has destroyed a harvest of crops, and JB assembles a team to investigate.
Tante.
Tante Binay, apa kabar? Dari sini ya.
Yang lalu yang ini gajah-gajah ini datang di kawasan kami di Kampung Gemaran ini kan. Memang kami di sini macam rasa macam ketakutan lah.
Although called pygmy elephants, they are quite large enough and more than capable of injuring or even killing a human if confronted.
Tengok dekat dengan perumahan di sini. Ini amat berbahaya kepada penduduk di sini dan boleh mengancam nyawa.
Macam kami, macam saya ini tidak ada pekerjaan lain, hanya dengan berharapkan tanaman-tanaman yang kami tanam. Dan itulah sumber sumber makanan kami lah dan pendapatan kami.
Akan kupak kulit nih dan makan dia punya ini pokok dan juga umbut kelapa. Ini yang bagus. Sebab ini salah satu daripada kegemaran gajah, makanan gajah yang paling dia gemar, yang tidak ada dalam hutan.
Frustrating as it is to lose food and income, the farmers understand that the elephants are hungry because their natural food sources are being depleted. It is now up to JB and his team to track the herd and neutralize the danger before an elephant or a person gets hurt.
Kumpulan gajah ini biasa dia akan keluar setelah petang di kawasan berdekatan dengan hutan, dan lama-kelamaan dia akan masuk ke kawasan kampung ini pada lewat malam. Okay, I think this is the new track. Yeah.
Clear signs that the elephants are in the area. But alongside the elephant tracks, JB makes a disturbing discovery.
Oke, ini merupakan tapak anjing lebih kurang dalam 6 ekor. Dan biasanya anjing bila datang ke kawasan hutan Ciban ini, dia akan memburu seperti babi ataupun kadang-kadang lawan dengan gajah.
It's an unexpected problem, and one that makes the team's task all the more dangerous. The feral dogs have chased the elephants deep into the forest, and it is unlikely they will come back to the road. But JB and his crew get lucky. Seizing the chance encounter, the team prepares its equipment. They must hurry before the herd moves further into the jungle. The plan is to tranquilize the dominant male with a dart so they can capture him safely. After fitting him with a satellite tracking collar, the team will relocate the bull to a forest reserve away from the villages. The rest of the herd will usually follow wherever the dominant male goes.
Di sini ada jantan besar, dan kalau ada jantan, maksudnya kita mesti harus jauh sebab ini ada berbahaya sedikit. Sebab gajah jantan ini lebih agresif.
Although it will soon be dark, the team has no choice but to make its move. Conscious of the potential side effects of the tranquilizer, JB uses the minimum dose required to sedate the bull. It can take anything up to half an hour for the short-lived drug to take effect, so the team needs to stay close. Sunset further complicates the task.
It's very difficult to track the elephant that we darted at night, especially if we are not familiar with the terrain. Especially when other member of the group try to protect this particular elephant that already darted.
And there are other hazards lurking in the dark.
Oh, baba-baba. Oh, patutlah ada gonggong anjing sudah di seberang sungai. Okey, baba-baba.
There is a danger that the wild dogs could cause the elephants to rampage, trapping the team between the angry herd and the river. Assessing the new threat, JB makes the decision to press on. They catch up with the bull as the tranquilizer takes effect. They are now locked in a race against the clock.
So after the elephant sleep, we chain all 4 limbs to make sure that he's fully secured.
But as JB prepares to put the satellite tracking collar on, he gets a nasty shock.
Okay. Careful, careful.
The dose has not been sufficient to properly tranquilize the bull.
Oh, because the elephant is already awake, so nothing much we can do. We cannot do measurements, we cannot do the collaring. Anything else we want to do, maybe we wait for another day, not tonight.
To be on the safe side, Dr. Laura decides to reverse the effects of the sedative with an antidote. The team must now take care of the elephant for 48 hours, after which it will be safe to tranquilize him again and put on the collar.
This satellite collar, when fixed on the elephant, will give us exact point where the elephant are, and this information can be used to study their home range and also the movement of the elephant's herd.
This time, the tranquilizer takes full effect, allowing the team to safely carry out tests and measurements. But Dr. Laura makes a quite shocking discovery. It's a large marble that has been used as a projectile shot from a homemade gun. With his wounds tended and measurements completed, the bull can be woken up for the last part of his journey.
By doing the translocation, we're not only going to protect the people in the village, but also protect the elephant group.
When it comes to protecting these endangered elephants, Dr. Laura's views are very clear.
They play a very important role in maintaining our ecosystem, and we are damaging the habitat, so who else should be responsible to take care of them other than the human race itself?
In the nearby forest reserve, the bull is finally out of danger. The rest of his herd will follow him out of harm's way, for the moment. But on an ever-dwindling forest frontier, it is a small victory for the Wildlife Rescue Unit, the critically endangered Bornean pygmy elephant, and the local villagers. As the sun sets, many species are drawn to the river to drink, roost, and hunt. The coming of the darkness also sees a changing of the guard. nocturnal animals emerge to commence their activities. But before the night can take a grip, there is that half-world between light and dark. And here too, the Kinabatangan River has its extraordinary species, if you can find them. Very little is known about the Sundra clouded leopard, named for the large cloud-like spots on its body. The impact of logging has led to this predator being classed as vulnerable, and as such, it is rarely seen in the wild. This rare footage of the clouded leopard illustrates an ongoing battle between this elusive predator and proboscis monkeys that has occurred along the banks of the Kinabatangan for generations. But as adept as this leopard is in the canopy, there is always someone better. Tonight, you'll have to look elsewhere for a meal. Also tonight, the hunter has become the hunted. Cede Prudente is seeking out this elusive predator, an animal that has really captured his imagination.
The Borneo clouded leopard is elusive. They're very charismatic. They're one of the largest cat in Borneo, and it's highly threatened. I've got 3 photographs of different individuals in the past 20 years, so it's pretty tough to get a photo of them.
As difficult as getting a shot may be, Cede is motivated by more than artistic considerations. He sees it as the most seductive image, one that will win people over to the cause of the Kinabatangan.
It is important to get a photograph of Borneo clouded leopard in this book. They could be a pin-up species of conservation in Borneo.
Now cloaked in darkness, floating along the river becomes an otherworldly experience. But Cede and Rizal are well versed in navigating these dark waters.
What we're doing now is really cruising, hoping to see their eye shine. The eye shine is one of the indicators that nocturnal animals are alive, they're active. So once we see that eye shine, we'll stop and take some photos. The best thing about shooting at night is you see animals that you don't normally see at daytime. Once the sun sets, it's different world. Okay, stand by, Chancellor. Okay, let's find some cats.
Yes, let's go.
His quarry eluding him, Cede decides to try his luck along the banks of the river. It's not a decision taken lightly. The jungle is dangerous enough by day, but trekking through it at night is even riskier. Along with large carnivorous predators, there are all kinds of creepy crawlies to worry about.
Oh, snake, snake, snake. It's a python. Articulated python. Wow. Look at that. Yeah, it's moving.
This is reticulated python. He's probably looking for prey, squirrels, sleeping birds.
Growing up to 11 meters in length, The reticulated python is the world's longest snake, besting even the notorious anaconda of Amazon fame. Capable of devouring an adult bearded pig whole, it is one of the few snakes reputed to have preyed on humans. The deeper into the jungle they travel, the more dangerous the creepy crawlies become.
This is a Scutigera. It's a family of centipede. It's poisonous. And it hunts for small spiders and insects.
Administering potent venom through modified legs, these formidable nocturnal ambush predators are capable of simultaneously subduing multiple prey. When Cede and Rizal finally do find a large predator, it has 8 legs, not 4. They happen across a giant orb spider at the precise moment an unwitting moth becomes ensnared within its huge web.
What a moment. The right place at the right time. Spider just grabbed a moth. It's happening in front of my eyes. That's the shot.
Cloaked in darkness, the jungle is unwilling to give up any further mysteries. Cede and Rizal decide to call it a night and return to their boat. But they have not been long on the water when Cede's attention is drawn to something on the riverbank.
I saw some eye shine. It's still there. It's sitting on something, I'm not sure. But I saw
There is a large spotted cat in the trees.
It's quite tough to get some shot. Okay. I'm just gonna wait until you move to an open space. Still there, still there. Wait till you walk.
It's a civet cat, a shy carnivore native to the area. Tonight, the darkness held on to its secrets. Cede and Rizal meet the dawn without the coveted shot of a clouded leopard, but disappointing as that is, it's a big jungle, and elusive as they are, clouded leopards are known to roam over the entire region. It's time to leave the mountains of the upper Kinabatangan and head down towards the lowland floodplains. Along its course towards the Sulu Sea, the mighty river snakes through forests that hide orangutans and hornbills. It passes caves that could hold secrets of value to medical science. And it flows through the domain of a creature both fearsome and gentle, the rare and vulnerable Bornean sun bear. This is a journey only possible along the Amazon of the East. Flowing through Sabah, the easternmost state of Malaysian Borneo, the Kinabatangan River has been dubbed a mini-Amazon. It's a title that fits the river very well. Only the Amazon itself can rival the Kinabatangan for the abundance of life that it supports. As the river flows out of the highlands, the towering dipterocarp trees give way to lower, fruit-bearing canopies, shading the Kinabatangan as it snakes its way through lowland floodplains that hide orangutans and hornbills. As it passes caves that could hold secrets of value to medical science. As it flows through the domain of creatures both rare and vulnerable. These life-giving floodplains are known locally as Sabah's gift to the earth. From the high country of its source, the Kinabatangan begins its long journey towards the Sulu Sea. It will pass through many landscapes, first entering ancient lowland floodplains. This is a vast area, a sprawling landscape in which the river has carved out its course over many millennia. As it travels downstream, the Kinabatangan continually shapes and reshapes its banks. In the wet season, oxbow lakes are formed as the river breaks the banks in search of a different, shorter course. Enriched by minerals and nutrients deposited in the seasonal floods, this natural aquifer is thought to contain perhaps 1,000 times as many species as the river itself. Only the vast Amazon River basin of South America rivals the capacity of these floodplains to support a staggering diversity of life. One spectacular example of species to be found here is the majestic Sundra clouded leopard. Due to loss of habitat, its naturally shy disposition and excellent camouflage, these cats are rarely seen. A fact not lost on wildlife photographer Cede Prudente, who has encountered this elusive predator in the wild on only 3 occasions over his 20-year career. Now on a quest to highlight the challenges facing the Kinabatangan River and its wild inhabitants, Cede plans to publish a new book documenting the unique, rare and extraordinary wildlife to be found along this life-giving waterway. To maximise his chances of capturing a shot of the clouded leopard, Cede has enlisted the help of Wild Crew research assistant Itoy, part of a team that has been tracking these shy creatures for some time.
Taking photos of a clouded leopard is quite challenging because they move at night, they sleep at daytime, they're very elusive, hard to see. It's one of the most challenging subjects for a wildlife photographer. The research team of the clouded leopard putting color on an individual to track their movements on the Kinabatangan River. So it's an important aspect of understanding the movement of the clouded leopard.
To enable the research team to place a tracking collar on a clouded leopard, they must first capture one. Itoy's daily routine involves checking the traps for live specimens. By accompanying Itoy, Cede hopes to learn a little more about the behaviour of these elusive felines.
We have to move slowly, otherwise the animals will nervous.
There is something large in the trap.
We got orangutan in the cage.
Wow. Yeah, I can see the red fur.
I think it's a male one, orangutan.
I'm so glad to see a big male orangutan. He is a dominant male. As far as I know, once they grow their flange, their cheek pad, they are dominant in the area. You know, so only dominant male has a cheek pad.
Exciting as it is, trapping a wild flanged male orangutan in the cage presents an issue. One ape of this size has the strength of up to 8 men.
Look at that. Those fingers. He's really trying to open the cage.
But releasing this huge primate is incredibly dangerous. The crew must do this without harming the orangutan or getting badly hurt themselves. Itoi takes charge.
I think the best way is to big and then hide in the tree. I'm gonna open the door.
There is no way of knowing what the great ape will do when the cage is opened. If it charges Cede or Itoi, it could be fatal.
It's quite a daring job to open this gate. I'm not sure what's going to happen, whether he goes that way or this way. So we're right here on the cliff, which is quite a risky situation. Because sometimes you got to take a risk to get a good shot.
Itoi tries to maneuver a large tree branch through the top of the cage.
Itoi is trying to avoid eye contact with the big male orangutan. So he's putting his face backwards against the orangutan.
Direct eye contact would be a challenge to the big male's dominance. Although Itoi is averting his eyes, every second in close proximity adds to the danger.
There you go. He's up on the tree. Right up on the tree.
Oh my God.
Why? What happened? You look a bit nervous.
Yeah, because we don't know how strong this orangutan because it's big male. That's why I'm nervous. Well, yeah.
I can see that. You were like shivering. Itoi,
Yeah.
that was great to see an orangutan.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a clouded leopard.
Well, let's see the camera trap.
Let's go.
In addition to information provided by radio collars that track the leopard's movements, these motion sensor cameras offer the Wild Crew research team an invaluable insight into the big cat's natural behaviours. Cede is curious to see what has been captured by the remote lens.
How many photographs of clouded leopard have you taken with this?
More than 20 photos.
Wow, that's a lot of photographs.
Yeah.
I'm really keen to see what's on that camera. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
In order to view the images, Cede follows Itoi to the research team's nearby base camp. On checking the camera card, Itoi and Cede discover that many kinds of game have triggered the motion sensor. Macaques, a great Argus pheasant, and of course the male orangutan, who entered the trap just 15 minutes before their arrival.
Checking the camera trap was exciting, although it's not the animal that I wanted. Seeing a big male orangutan in this forest, it's pretty amazing.
But it's what the camera's remote sensor had captured early in the day that provides the biggest surprise.
Boom. There's something there. It's clouded leopard.
Yeah. That's clouded leopard. Came from down the hill, not along the ridge.
Amazing.
Almost a whole body inside the trap.
It turned back and come out from the trap.
Yeah, turn back.
That's what I want. That's what I want to
Yeah.
photograph. If
Yeah.
Although the coveted shot once again evades Cede, he remains philosophical.
It's quite frustrating not to get the shot of a clouded leopard, but that's how it is. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
But he's not leaving this experience empty-handed. He's been afforded a privileged glimpse of the secret life of a majestic predator.
I'm impressed, and I think the camera trap is a good tool to set up and get a photograph of this elusive animal. As a wildlife photographer and conservationist, I'm happy to know that the clouded leopard is out there in the forest.
The incredible wildlife that thrives along this river has for centuries attracted traders from far and wide. Meaning Chinese river in the local language, the Kinabatangan was named for the Chinese merchants who would ply these waters in search of rare trade items. In order to satisfy the exotic tastes of China's emperors and wealthy mandarins, swift's nests, hornbill casks, and elephant ivory were for centuries plundered from these floodplains. Today, Saba's wildlife is protected by law, and these practices no longer exist, at least not legally. Unfortunately, fueled by a continued demand for exotic commodities, the lucrative black market trade has had a devastating impact on local wildlife populations in recent years. None have suffered more than the Sumatran rhinoceros. In 2008, due to the profound effects of habitat loss and illegal poaching, the local government estimated that there were around 50 specimens of the rhinoceros left in the wild. Only 5 years later, that figure had to be revised to as few as 10. By the beginning of 2015, the government was forced to concede that the Sumatran rhinoceros, which had lived in Sabah for 35 million years, was now locally extinct. And this disturbing trend continues. Other rare species are faced with similar fates. The future of one such secretive creature currently hangs in the balance. A creature both fearsome and gentle, as comfortable high in the trees as it is on the ground. This is the Bornean sun bear, the smallest member of the bear family. Its sharp claws make short work of fallen logs, rooting out termites which are then easy prey for the sun bear's extraordinarily long tongue. At 25 centimeters, it is one of the longest of all mammalian tongues. And that tongue is helpful for getting into beehives, even those 40 meters up in the canopy, which is why the sun bear is more commonly known as the honey bear. Its sharp claws are good for more than just foraging. Sun bears are exceptional climbers. So agile that they move from tree to tree more like apes. Although fond of water, sun bears are not recognized as strong swimmers, which is why the Kinabatangan often acts as a natural barrier, limiting the bear's home range. As land is developed along the river, this usually shy and retiring species is increasingly confronted by human beings. It's not an easy coexistence, and with it comes peril. Illegal poaching and loss of forest habitat have led to the Bornean sun bear being classed as vulnerable, and populations of this magnificent bear are declining rapidly in the wild. This is Dr. Cede Wong, known to the locals as the Bear Man. He prefers to simply be called Wong. In the battle to protect sun bears, Wong is warrior number one. A wildlife biologist and foremost authority on sun bears, Dr. Wong is the founder of the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Centre.
Under the big umbrella of conservations, I want to conserve sun bear through a holistic approach that incorporates improved animal welfare, education, research, and rehabilitation.
Wong and his team are dedicated to rescuing, healing, and then repatriating sun bears into the wild. And just like everywhere else, an average day begins with breakfast.
The center right now have 35 bears.
The bears is just waking up, and then they're waiting for their food. They're hungry, so we need to feed them well 4 times a day. Each day we need to feed the bears close to 150 kilos of all different kind of fruits and food.
Every sun bear at the centre has a story of rescue from traumatic circumstances.
This is Mary. I take care of Mary since day one, and then we developed a very strong trust. Mary was captured at a very young age. When Mary came to our center, I immediately noticed that something wrong with her because her face and her body does not match. She got a relatively mature-looking face, but with a very short body.
Mary's previous owner hadn't fed the baby bear any milk. Because of her malnourished youth, Mary will never be big enough to survive in the wild.
I do have a very special connection with Mary. All of the bears I take care of, I do not dare to touch them except Mary. I know that Mary won't harm me. Mary is just like my daughter. I mean, there's no difference. I have 2 daughters, and all of these are my daughters. I'm my daughter and son.
After breakfast, the bears are released into the centre's 42 square kilometres of protected rainforest, where they can spend the day foraging and climbing to their heart's content.
We are very lucky to have this piece of forested land as our forest enclosures with dense vegetations, with very tall trees. I think this place is very important because sun bears is a very rare and elusive animals that live in the deep jungle of Borneo. Without these facilities, people would not get the chance to see bears in the natural environment. The tourists are very important for us. We generate revenues from ticketing, so these visitors support our center. We are educating those visitors about sun bears, about the rainforest, about the importance of the bears.
Unfortunately, the bears in this enclosure can never go back to the wild. They're either too old, too traumatized, or too acclimatized to human contact. But with the right kind of care, newly rescued creatures like baby Carla have a great chance of being set free.
Carla is a 6-month-old female sun bear cub that we walk her every day in this forest environment so that she can pick up her instinct. It is very important to give the opportunity for the bear cubs to smell the forest, to look for potential natural food source, to climb the tree, so that they can get the connection between the natural environment, the forest, the natural food items, and all the exercise that they need to climb trees, make nests, and so on.
When Carla was rescued from the illegal pet trade, she weighed a mere 3 kilograms. But under the care of Reintroduction and Research Officer Lin May, Carla has filled out to a healthy 12.5 kilos.
So I'm surrogate mother. I will bring Carla to the forest. She will learn how to become a wild bear. Foraging the natural food is very important for the sun bear cub. So at first she learned the foraging earthworm, beetles, especially her favorite termites. Walking bear cub is one of the wonderful jobs in the world.
As a solitary species, learning to be self-sufficient is fundamental for sun bears. While the carer bond is strong, for Carla to take the next step, she must be weaned away from her carer.
Oh, I think I'm not sad. I will be happy because she's moving the next step. Yeah, the next step.
Helping sun bears to take that next step is Wong's ultimate goal.
Sun bears is a forest-dependent species. They live in the forest. They cannot live in plantation. They cannot live in urban area. They have to live in the forest. So this is Pen B. Pen B right now have no access to the visitors. Visitors don't see the bears here, and the bears here don't see visitors.
Deliberately isolated from the rest of the centre, Pen B holds the bears that are closest to being released.
There are some criteria that we use for selecting bears to be released. First of all, they have to be able to forage in the wild. Second, they have to be able to climb the tree, build nests on top of tree. And the third skill that they have to have is to shy away from people. Those bears that do not fear people, these are not release candidates. So in general, these are still wild bears. So we have to be very, very careful with this bear, respect this bear. With their sharp claws and very strong teeth, they can do a lot of damages, including killing a people.
And there are other pressing reasons to minimize the bear's contact with humans.
Although it is illegal, the whole body have commercial value. Meat for food, claws, canine for items to be used in their traditional ceremonies. Gallbladder as traditional Asian medicines. Because of their cuteness, people keep bear cubs as pets. These bears right now are subjected to all the threats that a wild sun bear may face. That means that I cannot protect them, I cannot care for them anymore. So they are all on their own. So good luck is the only thing that I can say.
It's always a triumph when rehabilitated sun bears can be released. And these two young females have made the grade.
Both of them were brought up together. When they first come here, they were both cubs. We often see them inseparable. If we release two female bears that would grow up together, they at least have a companionship. If there's other bears come and bully them, they can defend for themselves. The feeling of releasing a bears is bittersweet. I'm happy, but at the same time, I'm also very sad. And happy that I managed to, give them a second chance to live in the wild where they are supposed to. This bear is like my baby. I raised them up, and right now I gotta say goodbye to them. It's kind of sad.
And for Papa Bear, as Wong is affectionately known to his staff, the bittersweet moment of setting his sun bears free is the real measure of his life's work.
I have been working on sun bear and studying sun bear for so long. I feel like I have the responsibility to help them as much as possible. Turning a blind eye is not an option for me because I know the issue. I have to work on them.
While the threats to wild sun bears remain serious, the work of dedicated conservationists like Wong is bringing new hope for the survival of these beautiful creatures and of their remaining forest habitat. Navigating their way through the meanders of the floodplains, Cede and Rizal continue their voyage. The warm glow of the late afternoon sun finds Cede and Rizal gliding silently through calm waters, always on the lookout for hard-to-get shots and never shy of taking the path less travelled. The surrounding hills conceal wonders and mysteries rarely witnessed by human eyes.
Just what it is. We left the Kinabatangan to this small side tributary. As I know, this is one of the hot spots for wildlife. It's great for photography because the trees are a lot shorter and there's good visibility, there's good distance to shoot the animals, and the variety from birds, mammals, reptiles, it's just abundant.
The small boat feels like part of the environment, gliding along quietly without disturbing the wildlife. The oriental darter suns itself confidently. Darters don't have waterproof wings, so they need to dry off before they can dive and fish again. It's a feast for the camera, but Cede's instincts tell him if he wants bigger game, he has to get out of the boat.
This tributary is great for wildlife, but somehow I have to go in the forest on land and follow animals like orangutans, gibbons, and hornbills to get some good shots.
Dusk heralds an awe-inspiring natural event, but to reach it, Cede and Rizal must race the setting of the sun. Of course, for a wildlife photographer on the Kinabatangan, there's always a welcome distraction.
There's a red-leaf monkey up there, one of those endemics of Borneo. Usually they're very shy, very elusive.
Much like a cow, red-leaf monkeys have chambered stomachs to break down their fibrous diet of leaves and seeds. These charismatic primates avoid the sweet fruits abundant on the Kinabatangan floodplains because the sugars they contain disrupt the delicate balance of their complex digestive system. Cede's goal is at the summit of these hills, and daylight is slipping away. Still, he manages to find time for one of the great apes, the orangutan.
It's a hard climb, but it's well worth it because there's a family of orangutans up there. And it's great to see a mother and baby feeding on a fig. And it looks like they are bonding now, and they're traveling together. And it's a fascinating feeling to see a wild one.
It has been quite a successful afternoon, and as evening draws closer, Cede wants to keep moving.
What I would really like to see is somewhere up there in the mountains.
In these remote mountains, sunset brings a fantastic natural phenomenon few eyes have the privilege to witness. Cede and Rizal have to hurry to set up in time to catch it. And they're not the only ones who are waiting. As sunset approaches, the sky fills with raptors. Peregrine falcons, Brahminy eagles and Wallace hawk eagles all here for the same reason as Cede. Every evening, reliable as clockwork, 2 million wrinkly bats exit this cave in search of their evening meal. A swarm like this can devour several tons of insects in a single night. As soon as the bats clear the ridge, the raptors swoop to the hunt, and a breathtaking aerial battle commences.
It's amazing when these bats are coming out from the chamber. It's like a drive-through for Wallace's hawk eagle and bat hawk. It happens so quick that you can't even see what's happening in front of your eyes.
It's an awesome display of speed and agility. The raptors attack the bat swarm, exiting with prey in their deadly talons. Even for a photographer as experienced as Cede, getting a clean shot is no easy feat.
Bat hawk just zap in and there he goes. It's gone. You know, it's a split-second thing. Seeing things happening like this, bats being preyed by raptors, and not many events like this happen, and not many events being seen by people. So I'm very fortunate to be here.
When photographing a remote wilderness that few human eyes have seen, one good shot is all Cede needs. Far below the aerial display, these caverns support a thriving complexity of life, in no small part due to the presence of these bat colonies. Bats play a pivotal role in the maintenance of healthy ecosystems. Here, in the lowland rainforests surrounding the Kinabatangan, some species pollinate flowers and disperse seeds, while others keep insect populations in check. Within the cave system itself, bat colonies help to support a flourishing underworld. Packed with essential nutrients, their guano sustains a healthy population of microbes and invertebrates as it builds up on the cave floor. Carpeting the detritus left by the colony, these cockroaches in turn provide sustenance for other creatures. Creatures like the venomous scutiera, who specializes in hunting other invertebrates. Existing in the dark confines of these caves, scutiera use their well-developed eyesight and sensory antennae to locate their prey. While in this ecosystem they support life, as they travel farther afield, bats have the potential to be the bringers of death. In the forested area surrounding these caves, a team of research scientists is in the midst of a global effort to understand the ecology of disease. It is part of a project named Predict. The study has revealed that 60% of the emerging infectious diseases that affect humans originate in wildlife.
Virus macam Ebola, SARS, H1N1. So mereka terkandung mungkin dalam badan haiwan beribu-ribu tahun.
Disease, as it turns out, is largely an environmental issue.
Tapi disebabkan oleh aktiviti-aktiviti manusia dan membuka semakin besar hutan, walau itu disebar kepada manusia.
Malaysia recently experienced the dramatic consequences of rapid development.
Sebelum ni katakan kita ada satu outbreak semasa tahun 1998, itu panggil Nipah virus outbreak. Mula-mula itu berlaku, so semua orang tidak tahu tentang virus itu dan ia menyebabkan ramai orang, lebih 100 orang pekebun peladang babi maut.
With a high mortality rate, the virus was transmitted to the human population through domesticated pigs that had been infected through feedstock contaminated by bat urine. To combat its deadly spread, the Malaysian government ordered the slaughter of over 1 million pigs. Although costly, there were valuable lessons to be learned from the outbreak.
Apa yang PDIP cuba untuk membuat di Malaysia, createkan satu dalam English early warning system.
Assisted by the Wildlife Rescue Unit, the team sets up a series of mist nets to capture live bat specimens.
Kita cuba ambil sampel daripada hidupan liar dan kita kena pasti apa virus itu sebelum itu outbreak berlaku.
Working with wildlife in the field can be precarious at the best of times, but when handling animals that are known to carry life-threatening pathogens, extra precaution is necessary. Bats have notoriously poor eyesight. They rely on echolocation to navigate the night skies. These mist nets are designed to be undetectable to the bat's nocturnal senses. It's not long before the first samples are snared. The team members must handle them very carefully. A single bite from an infected bat could prove fatal. The captured bats are placed in cotton sacks to minimize any distress. The team will transport the specimens they have collected to a nearby temporary field lab, where they will begin their research. Gathering blood, saliva and other samples from high-risk wildlife species to collate a library of pathogens, so that if one does infect humans, it can be more quickly identified.
Kita sudah mengambil sampel lebih daripada 11,000 sampel daripada Sabah. Kita sudah dapat mencari 49 virus yang baru tidak pernah diketahui di mana-mana di Sabah.
In addition to cataloguing these new viruses, Eco Health Alliance is studying ways of managing forests, wildlife and livestock to prevent diseases from escaping from the forest and becoming the next global pandemic.
Memerlukan semakin banyak tempat tinggal, tempat tanaman untuk menyalakan hidup kita. Dan semakin suntuk habitat yang dimiliki oleh binatang atau haiwan liar. Terpaksa berpindah kepada mereka yang boleh mencari makanan, iaitu yang berdekatan dengan manusia.
Through their early warning system, Predict hopes to prevent a local problem from becoming a global one. While the international scientific community strives to unravel the mysteries of life on this wild frontier, for the Orang Sungai, these challenges are part and parcel of everyday life. As Cede and Rizal rejoin the main river, the sights, sounds and smells become increasingly familiar.
Hai, apa kabar? Nak? Apa?
This part of the river holds special significance for Cede, but for Rizal, it is simply home.
Jom, 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 jom. Ui, pandai. Ini. Pandai kau belah kena. Nah, itu beri. Okey, baiklah.
The village of Sukau, meaning tall tree in the local dialect, is a river community living on the edge of civilization. It is here that Rizal has spent his entire life.
Satu lagi.
Tapi saya membesar di sini, di Sukau. Dan sebelum saya berkahwin, saya juga ikut dengan bapak saya merambat, memukat, memancing. Bila ada pelancongan, saya lebih kepada pelancongan.
While for many years fishing and tourism helped to sustain Rizal's young family, the cost of living is rising rapidly, forcing Rizal to move with the times.
Memandangkan kami punya pendapatan belum mencukupi, saya sudah mula petik getah, tanam pokok getah.
The people of the river are fierce custodians of their natural world, so nothing could better illustrate the opposing tensions of modern life than Rizal's decision. It's not one that he took lightly.
Saya akan tanam getah ini di sini. Nah, ini kawasan ini kami buka untuk penanaman pokok getah. Untuk membuat ladang getah, yang getah ini semua dibukakan oleh kerajaan Sabah. Tanam di sini khas untuk keluarga yang menampung penggunaan keseharian.
To enable smallholders such as Rizal to generate economic activities in the area, the local government offers financial assistance and land grants. Reserving the right to reclaim any plot left undeveloped, the government actively promotes progress in the region, with the result that an estimated 1/3 of all land cleared in Borneo is cleared by small landholders and local villagers. To make the most of this opportunity afforded to him, Rizal has elected to develop a rubber plantation on his land.
Sebagai peminat alam sekitar, susah nggak mau tebang itu pokok?
Memang, saya lebih kepada pelancongan juga. Rasa sedih itu ada, tapi tiada jalan. Habis ini untuk kami punya generasi juga, yang akan datang macam cucu kami.
But Rizal has also considered the future of his beloved rainforest surroundings.
Berapa luas kamu punya kebun?
Totally ini kebun dalam 75 ekar. Tapi kawasan kami menyeluruh 150 ekar.
Yang hutan itu?
Seperti hutan yang di belakang ini kita nampakkan. Hutan ini kami biarkan memberi laluan kepada hewan-hewan seperti gajah, ya kadang-kadang orang hutan. Dan juga riparian reserve kami ada biar di sini dalam 30 meter daripada tebing sungai.
Jadi yang binatang ini ada tempat laluan dia?
Ya, itulah.
Jadi bukan dia tertumpu di kawasan kebun kamu itu. Jadi dia masih boleh lalu kiri kanan.
While he understands his old friend's need to provide for his family, Cede is also concerned about the bigger picture.
It is concerning to me when there are many developments like this. I guess any breadwinner, you gotta look at how you're gonna sustain your family. But frankly speaking, I am really sad because this is the only space we have for our animals. This is the only space we have for a clean source of water. This small space where the river people lives is almost endangered. It's quite an emotional place for many people and for me. I'm really part and parcel of the Kinabatangan system, and watching this is very sad, very, very sad.
As the modern world closes in on this ancient river system, the future of Sabah's gift to the earth remains unclear. It is a rapidly changing world in which Rizal must shape his own destiny. As husband and provider, as custodian of his children's future, and as a proud member of the Orang Sungai. The challenges of life on this wild river system can seem overwhelming. But in the next episode, we explore how the ingenuity of man is managing to balance the economic and ecological scales along the Kinabatangan. As we journey eastwards with Cede and Rizal along waterways ruled by ancient predators, through the otherworldly Sagama wetlands, before reaching journey's end, the vibrant Sulu Sea. Before entering the vibrant Sulu Sea, the Kinabatangan River passes through the mangrove forests. These are the vast Sagama wetlands, housing one of the highest concentrations of primate species on the planet. It's a newly declared conservation area of international significance. It abounds in wildlife, but it is also awash with the presence of man. Times here are uncertain. There are people here who strive to balance the needs of ecology and economic development, and others who struggle simply to keep up with the times. Some are forming new relationships with man's closest living relative. For others, old scores with ancient rivals remain unsettled. All of this lies ahead on the final stage of this most epic journey. As the Kinabatangan River meanders through the easternmost reaches of the lowland floodplains, one creature, perhaps the most complex of all, becomes more abundant. Man. The Orang Sungai, or people of the river, are the traditional custodians of the Kinabatangan, keenly aware of the subtle ebbs and flows of life along its banks. The most populous village along the Kinabatangan is Sukau. Historically a fishing village, but now transformed into a thriving hub of industry. First for timber, more recently as a centre for agriculture. And it is agriculture, chiefly palm oil production, that is changing the face of the region. But a brake is being put on the spread of these industries by the appeal of the unspoiled Kinabatangan to a blossoming tourist trade. The staggering diversity and unique character of the wildlife that inhabits this part of the river attracts people from all over the world. Just as it originally drew wildlife photographer Cede Prudente to the region some 20 years ago, since when he has been a pioneer of conservation and ecotourism in the area. Whilst he appreciates the positive impact that tourism has had, he believes more needs to be done to preserve the priceless natural environment.
I like Kinabatangan River a lot. This is where I learn about nature and how beautiful nature is. And I think the most important in conservation is making it economically viable. Otherwise, the people don't benefit, the animals don't benefit. The future generation will really depend on what we're doing now.
Although not born along its banks, Cede has been a passionate advocate of the river for most of his life.
I was born near a forest in Lahadatu, but we were brought up and schooled in the city, in Sandakan. I enjoyed both worlds of living in the city and coming out here in the Kinabatangan. But the Kinabatangan is more unique, more special to me. Don't tell my children. Don't tell my wife. But I guess this is where my heart is, in the Kinabatangan.
Cede hopes to raise awareness of not only the challenges that face the unique wildlife to be found here, but also those that confront the people of the river.
Over the years, there are many hardships and challenges that the Orang Sungai has faced. Previously, probably life is simpler. They get produce from the river, fishes, prawns, some produce from the forest. But recently, there has been a lot of development in agriculture. There's been environmental impact on the river, such as pollution, siltation. They need to face those challenges, and they have to change those problems and issues for betterment.
Cede believes that addressing the complexity of these issues adequately means meeting them with a united front.
I feel the Orang Sungai are the true guardians of the river, the true guardians of the forest and the animals around it. Conservationists has to work with the government, has to work with the local people and the palm oil producers. Without concerted synergy or collaboration between the different stakeholders, the Kinabatangan region will die.
For Rizal and his young family, this is simply part of the daily reality on this remote frontier where times are changing. If the people of the river are to remain relevant in the modern world, they must adapt, and balancing the old and new worlds is an ongoing challenge. As Rizal and Cede set off on the last leg of their journey, they must say their goodbyes. Before entering the Sagama wetlands, Cede wants to visit an old friend, one whose knowledge of this river is unrivaled. Meet master boat builder and fisherman Pati Asa. A village elder, as a younger man, Asa worked in the timber and palm oil industries before helping pioneer ecotourism in the Kinabatangan floodplains. Cede and Asa are old friends.
I met Pachi Arsa more than 20 years ago here on this Kinabatangan. This is quite a meaningful place for me. Apa kabar, Cik?
Bagus deh. Lama tidak jumpa.
Lama tidak jumpa. Besar sudah kan?
Ya, besar sudah. Otuk pun sudah besar-besar sudah.
Leaving the old friends to catch up, Rizal goes to buy supplies for their journey.
Arsa was one of the first guys who took me around here. And now I've learned so much about this place and to appreciate in this area. So it's quite an emotional visit. Kita
panas,
kopi-kopi. Oh, enak, lang.
Jadi
Cede first met Asa in the 1980s. In the years since, they have pioneered the tourism industry in Sucao. From its meagre beginnings, ecotourism has grown to become one of the most significant industries in the region, attracting a steady stream of tourists, generating income that not only helps to support the local economy, but also offers some protection to the surrounding wilderness.
Ini kau masih bawa pelancong, menangkap ikan. Kita jual ke ini ikan atau untuk sendiri?
Kalau banyak saya jual, tapi sedikit aja begini mana boleh jual. Jadi terpaksa pakai sendirilah. Sekarang ini kurang, udang pun kurang, ikan pun kurang sebab ini banyak sudah orang menangkap, lebih sudah diorang jual. Susahlah. Apa boleh buat, itulah kekurangan. Diorang punya alat-alat menangkap itu pakai siut begini, surung pakai injin.
It is stories such as the one that Asa tells that have driven Cede to act. Taking leave of his old friend, Cede continues his onward journey, hoping that his new book can play a small role in protecting this fragile environment and those, like Asa, who depend upon it for survival. As for Asa, he must return to his home with the morning catch. Asa lives on the outskirts of Sucao village. His family is a large one, 7 children, 26 grandchildren and 13 great-grandchildren. Asa primarily supports his family in traditional ways, such as fishing, supplementing his income by working as a part-time tour guide. Of the entire clan, only one of the grandchildren, Jidan, is interested in learning the traditional ways. As they bring in the morning's catch, Jidan's grandmother begins preparation of their midday meal, while Asa and his grandson attend to their chores. Jidan relishes the time he spends with his grandfather.
Saya suka ikut dato saya Arsa. Dia telah memberi tunjuk ajar kepada saya.
Jidan, kau ambil gunting sana, Jidan.
Dia membawa saya merambat, memasang pukat, memasang bubuk, dan dia mengajar saya membuat perahu.
But not many of Jidan's siblings share his enthusiasm for learning the trades and crafts of their forebears.
Setengah tradisi kampung tu macam secara lapuk. So, kita ubah dia menjadi modern sikit. Saya lebih suka tinggal di bandar sebab saya bercita-cita sebagai dokter. Jika cita-citanya menjadi dokter atau engineer atau yang lain lagi, dia perlu memerlukan meneruskan pelajaran atau sekolah-sekolah yang lagi baik daripada kampung.
The Orang Sungai traditions are the cornerstone of these people's identity. One tradition in particular takes precedence over the rest. It is the key to the river people's survival. It is a tradition in which Asa's mastery supports his family.
Pancarian yang pertama kali bagi orang sungai, bikin perahu. Tangkap ikan, merambat, macam-macam pancarian boleh dibawa sama ini perahu.
For a people like Asa, whose life is so intrinsically tied to the waters of the Kinabatangan, the boat is not only the cornerstone of the Orang Sungai's heritage, but of their survival.
Saya rasa paling penting ini perahu. Jadi kalau saya sudah mati, saya kasih ganti ini aku punya cucu. Jadi kalau kita buang itu, tidak ada sudah yang boleh mengganti, itulah aku ajar ini. Jadi syukur aku, dia orang dapat juga sikit-sikit.
The attention of the youngest generation of his family may have been captured by modern ways and bright city lights, but Asa hopes that his cherished traditional ways will live on in Jidan, the youngest and keenest of pupils. While traditions can be passed from grandfather to son to grandson, the ailing culture of Orang Sungai will survive. The struggle to remain relevant along this mighty river system is not just about the Orang Sungai. It is about an ancient land in a 21st century world. Currently in Sabah, the per hectare income of a palm oil plantation is 50 times greater than that of an equivalent area of native forest. This huge disparity in capital value is the single greatest threat facing the natural world here. Over 90% of the land devoted to palm oil production is in Malaysia and Indonesia, a large proportion of it on the island of Borneo. Palm oil is the world's cheapest vegetable oil, and demand for it is forecast to skyrocket over the next decade. It is an imminent and very real threat to the entire ecosystem, and the tireless work of many in Sukau is aimed at achieving a viable balance. This is Rajak, the beneficiary of an alliance between the village of Sukau and a not-for-profit conservation organisation known as Hutan.
Kehadiran hutan ini pun memang tetap disenangi oleh kepimpinan di sini. Lihat dengan jelas sekali bahwa sebab adanya flora dan fauna kita yang masih terjaga melalui konservasi itu. Pelancongan yang dari luar itu tanpa hutan mungkin Sukau itu akan lebih dimonopolikan terlebih kepada yang perkembangan sawit.
Present in the village since 1996, Hutan, for which Rajak works, has taken a holistic approach to ensuring both ecological and economic stability in the region. Today, Rajak is joining French biologist and Hutan founder Marc Ancrenaz to conduct a census on an endangered, nest-building forest dweller high on Hutan's list of priorities. But first, they have to find it. Perhaps this is the best known of all of Borneo's splendid species. This is the orang-utan. Orang-utan literally means people of the forest. They are highly intelligent great apes, sharing more than 95% of our DNA, which makes them one of our closest living relatives.
Orangutan is an endangered species, and the numbers in the wild are declining.
Due mainly to loss of habitat, the population of the Bornean orangutan has declined by 80% in the last 20 years. It is estimated there are only around 12,000 individuals left on the island. Dedicated to fostering mutual coexistence between man and ape, Hutan employs over 50 locals, which makes the organisation the largest employer in the area.
Here at Hutan, we have a team of researchers entering the study site, looking for orangutans. We follow them, we take data about their home range, their feeding behavior, their social activities, their location in the forest. We want to identify what are the key resources they need to survive in this kind of habitat.
The team is tracking a particular orangutan pair which they have been studying.
Today we are following two orangutans, Juliana, the mother, and her young Felicity. 20 years of research shows that the orangutan can really survive in this type of habitat. But the question is, can people and orangutan live together? If we want to address this issue, we really need to look at the bigger picture, to have a holistic approach.
Male orangutans tend to be solitary, but youngsters like Felicity spend the first 10 years of their lives with their mothers. Female orangutans only bear offspring once every 8 years. This slow reproduction rate leaves orangutans particularly susceptible to population depletion. But it does have its advantages. Like all great apes, orangutans are able to accumulate and pass on knowledge learned from their ancestors to their young. One such skill is nest building. Under the tutelage of their mothers, young orangutans learn how to construct nests by bending and weaving strong yet pliable green tree branches into a complex scaffold, which they then fill with a bed of soft leaves.
Felicity just built her nest for the morning nap. Maybe she will stay there for 1 hour and then she will look for food. Felicity's mother, Juliana, is also sleeping. She's about 20 meters away. But we cannot see her. This is a problem with orangutan. Very difficult to spot in the canopy. Hopefully we won't lose her.
With Juliana out of sight, the team has to split up to ensure it can accurately record the movements and behaviour of both orangutans. Mark and Rajak set off to locate Felicity's missing mother. This is where Rajak comes into his own.
Dalam konservasi ini, saya sudah terlibat sama 12 tahun dalam konservasi. Saya memang bekerja untuk dapat sumber untuk kehidupan saya dan juga keluarga. Tetap, saya memang berminat dalam kerja-kerja ini, terutama dalam konservasi. Pada saya memang satu-satunya yang saya minat.
From a forestry background, his knowledge of indigenous plants and animals has made him invaluable to the team.
Inilah buah dia, tapi dia akan makan yang biji.
This is the fruit the orangutan is eating. Here we have the skin. Inside this fruit there is a seed. And the orangutan is cracking it open, eating the flesh of the fruit and spitting the seed. The orangutan eats more than 650 species of plants. In our study site only, you realize that we need specialists. We need people who can identify these plant species. This is what Rajak does the best.
Rajak's tracking skills do not disappoint.
Di situ di atas, sebelah atas sedikit. Lebih kurang 7-8 meter dari ibu.
She's up there in this tree. The orangutan has been described as being the gardener of the forest because of its big size and the huge quantities of fruits he's eating, it helps the seeds to be disseminated.
Like us, orangutans require huge quantities of food to power their large brains. 1/5 of all the food orangutans consume is dedicated to this task. Having eaten her fill, Juliana soon heads back through the trees to find her daughter Felicity. Education, employment, and increased tourism have been key results of the grassroots conservation movement started by Mark Ancrenes.
There is always something new to learn. And of course, even if we have spent so many years with orangutans, there is always new behaviors these orangutans will show us. That's why it's so exciting to do this kind of research.
By protecting orangutans and their remaining forest habitat, Bhutan is fostering an almost symbiotic relationship between the villagers and the great apes.
Orangutan depend on the work we are doing because when we are in the forest is protected, de facto. But at the same time, we also depend from the orangutan because they provide us a platform to work. These 50 people working with us are all paid because we are protecting orangutans. At the same time, people from all over the world, they want to come and see orangutans in the wild. So it's a terrific asset we have in Kinabatangan.
An asset that Rajak has come to love.
Jadi kita rasa bangga dan bertuah lah karena di dalam ada orangutan ini. Saya memang mempertahankan orangutan, memang anak-anak saya generasi akan datang masih boleh nampak kazana-kazana itu, baik flora dan fauna ini dan juga hewan-hewan yang ada di dalam Kinabatangan kita yang masih terjaga melalui konservasi itu.
In the face of unprecedented change, the villagers of Sukau, with the support of Bhutan and local government agencies, have managed to establish the basis of a promising green economy which, if managed correctly, will ensure a prosperous future for the people and for the wildlife. Continuing its journey ever eastwards towards the Sulu Sea, the Kinabatangan approaches the mangrove forests and peat swamps of the coastal regions. Cede's epic journey is almost at an end. Ultimately, it's the beginning of a much grander endeavour. Working alongside like-minded groups and government agencies, there is much to be done in the name of conservation. It's a race against the clock to preserve the most vulnerable of species. Many species who live on these floodplains rely on the forested canopies to navigate the often flooded forest floor, using overhanging branches to cross the water below. But illegal logging in many areas has removed many of these natural bridges. Unlike most primate species, pig-tailed macaques are adept swimmers, but attempting to cross the river in this way would be perilous. Within these waters lurk hidden dangers. To assist primate crossings along the river, local conservation groups have erected a series of man-made bridges. Saltwater crocodiles keep a close eye on the movements above. A family of monitor lizards, opportunistic scavengers, waits close by. Any misstep here could prove fatal. Bringing up the rear, this dominant male sees his family safely across the river and to the fruit-laden trees beyond. This crocodile will have to look elsewhere for a meal. In these brackish waters, the saltwater crocodile is the Kinabatangan's apex predator. Growing up to 6 meters in length, it is the largest of all living reptiles. The saltwater crocodile is a formidable ambush predator, capable of taking any animal that enters its domain. Fish, birds, large mammals, even man. Perhaps that is why the relationship between man and crocodiles has never been an easy one. Here in Sabah, due to their perceived menace and to the value of their skin, the saltwater crocodile was hunted to the brink of extinction. Fearing the loss of this magnificent predator, a timely and concerted effort led by local government and conservation groups has resurrected the species. Healthy numbers now exist in a number of regions along the Kinabatangan. The ecological and economic benefits of conservation efforts upstream are quite tangible, but in these parts, conservation occasionally exacts a very high price. In the last 15 years, there have been 25 crocodile attacks along the river. 17 have been fatal. With a view to reducing the frequency of these attacks, British-born PhD student Luke Evans has teamed up with conservation group DGFC in order to better understand the ecology of the saltwater crocodile.
The ultimate goal of the study would be to eradicate any human attacks, maintain a healthy population of crocodiles here, which is historically very difficult with predators that come into conflict with humans. It's one of the major challenges facing conservation today.
The team is setting out to trap a large croc so that it can be tagged with a satellite collar, allowing its movements to be tracked.
Really what we want is somewhere where the water's not flowing too much. Actually over here, you've got the natural barrier there and a couple of trees overhanging to tie to. We've got a couple of nice basking sites around as well so we want to look at where crocodiles are going and when they're going there. And so we can look at data over a long time period and use that to work out when crocs are most active, where they're most active, and we can even relate that back into when people are most likely to be attacked.
The team will need to move quickly in these crocodile-infested waters. A saltwater croc is capable of growing up to 6 meters and can lunge half its body length out of the water.
1, 2, 3.
So Luke and his crew are well within striking range.
What we want to do is adjust the rope so that it's sitting nicely in a nice direction. Then we'll bait it. So this is the bait that we're using. It's chicken intestines. It's incredibly smelly. It's kind of a case of the smellier the better for these guys.
Crocodiles have a highly developed sense of smell. With the bait now in the water, crocodiles are sure to start inspecting the trap.
It's a steel mesh trap with a simple pin trigger system. So basically what we have is bait attached by a rope, threaded along to the trigger mechanism, and a pin which is threaded underneath the door. So any pressure on the bait itself pulls the trigger out of the door and the door falls down. We just cover it over with some vegetation just to make sure that any croc that we catch, it has shade and it doesn't overheat. They're much more likely and much more inclined to go into an enclosed area where they feel safe.
With the trap set and baited, it's now a waiting game. The team will return in the morning to see if they have been successful. Things have gone to plan. Inside the trap is a 4-metre saltwater crocodile. To tag it, the team has to get close, very close.
So what we're doing is we're just going to fit a couple of top jaw ropes so we have some control of the animal before we even open the door. So then we know that everyone's going to be safe, the animal's going to be safe.
A croc of this size can weigh up to half a tonne, and it's quick to show off its death roll.
They often use death rolling to tear chunks of meat off their prey. Now they also do it as a defense mechanism, so if they've been captured, then they'll death roll to try and get free.
With the jaw lassoed, it takes 5 men to hold the croc down so that the jaw can be wrapped with strong tape, neutralising the fearsome teeth.
You've got to make sure that you respect the power of these animals and the fact that a 5-metre croc could easily get everybody involved.
With the croc safely secured, it's time to attach the collar.
So we're going to drill through these 4 scoots and thread plastic-coated steel wire through, and then the collar will sit on here. 55.4.
Like this or like this? From this?
Yeah, it's going very well. She hasn't been too distressed, which is good. We managed to get the work done in a pretty decent time. So yeah, I'm very happy. We really want to try and protect this environment, both for the people who live here, but also for the crocs. And usually the best way to do that is to create some sort of economic incentive for the crocodiles to be there. It's really difficult when you get a rising population of any predator, whether it be tigers or whether it be leopards or crocodiles. We really need to find a way for people to coexist with them. If you remove a big apex predator like that from this ecosystem, it can have terrible effects on the rest of the animals. If you lose that, you lose a big part of what this river is.
The lowland floodplain of the Kinabatangan is one of the few places on Earth in which 10 species of primate may be found. Orangutan, gibbon, red and silver leaf monkeys, various species of langur and macaques are all represented here. This incredible diversity of primate species is supported by an abundant variety of fruiting trees which provide food throughout the year. Perhaps the most bizarre looking of all the primates to be found here is the proboscis monkey. With their huge bulbous noses and pot bellies, they truly are genetic oddities. The diet of the proboscis monkeys consists mainly of leaves, seeds and unripened fruit. To digest it, they have evolved complex chambered stomachs that rely on a host of symbiotic bacteria. They never stray far from the life-giving Kinabatangan, and each night return to roost in the trees along its banks. It is this behaviour that makes a wildlife photographer's job just that little bit easier. Gliding silently along the river, Rizal spots movement in the trees. A troop of proboscis monkeys usually consists of a large number of females and their offspring, led by a single dominant male.
This is a harem group. One male, 2 to 15 females, and about 30 individuals. It's challenging for the male because there is a bachelor group that challenges the dominant male all the time. It's a pretty tough life for the dominant male.
Competing male proboscis monkeys do not fight physically. They prove their dominance through acrobatic displays. This is what Cede has travelled to see. The acrobatic displays are nothing if not photogenic, exhibiting impressive feats and emitting curious sounds projected through their large bulbous noses.
These guys are like flying monkeys. See, that's the shot, the jumping male, or a side profile, or, aggression. Even just sitting and relaxing, watching all the females, watching all his dynasty and his kingdom. That is quite a nice shot.
Like most of Borneo's unique wildlife, proboscis monkeys are suffering in the face of increased agricultural development and habitat loss. With just 7,000 of these amazing creatures left in the wild, the proboscis monkey has the unwelcome distinction of being rated as more endangered than the orangutan, a plight Cede is determined to highlight in his new book.
I think as a photographer, we are sort of the ambassador for these animals, and we showcase about their lives, their habitat, and it is so important to show to the world that they exist, and pictures make 1,000 words.
Entering the final stage of their journey, Cede and Rizal leave the floodplains and move into the vast network of coastal wetlands that border the Sulu Sea. Dominated by mangrove forests and peat swamps, these wetlands play a vital role in settling the sediments and organic loads carried by the river. They contribute greatly to carbon sequestration. Inhabiting the region for more than 70 million years, the prolific nipa palms are the only palm tree in the world that has adapted to life in mangroves. Their tough fronds and roots form a natural barrier against typhoons and waves, preventing erosion and maintaining the critical balance that makes these wetlands such a rich nursery of life.
The nipa is an important barrier of the coastline. It hosts a variety of species of snakes, species of snails and clams. It is an important ecosystem that synergizes with the lowland forest.
is so important that it is designated as a Ramsar site. It's a certification of high importance to birds and wildlife habitat.
Not only is the Sagama Wetlands Sabah's first accredited Ramsar site, but Malaysia's largest, covering over 78,000 hectares of coastline. As it is estimated that almost 80% of global fish stocks are directly or indirectly dependent on mangroves, the implementation of a green economy will play an important role in the correct management of this vital resource. One such fish is the world's largest and most endangered parrotfish, the bumphead parrotfish. During the breeding season, the bumphead parrotfish migrates into these mangroves to lay its eggs. Within the relative safety of these shallow waters, juvenile bumphead parrotfish are able to reach maturity before returning to the Sulu Sea. Primarily feeding on algae that grows on coral, parrotfish use their beaks to scrape off the topmost layers. Passing this calcium creates a fine sediment which over time builds up to form sand. Most of the sand found on the world's coral reefs is created by species like the bumphead parrotfish. The loss of these mangrove species would have devastating economic and environmental consequences for coastal communities. For Malaysia's largest Ramsar site, the journey to sustainable development is just beginning. For Cede and Rizal, the epic journey down the Kinabatangan is coming to an end. 560 kilometers from Imbak Falls, from where they set out, Cede and Rizal have come to the end of their odyssey.
We're almost at the end of our journey. From Imbak Canyon down to the lowlands, to the riverine forest, now into the open sea, the mangroves. What an incredible journey.
As the first photographer to ever document the mighty Kinabatangan from source to sea, Cede's new book will not only be a permanent record of their achievement, but a testament to the wild majesty of this untamed region.
I'm amazed to see how one river can give so many faces and interpretations of life. Many of these species are endemic to Borneo and they can be found nowhere else. I hope this book will help to preserve this unique environment.
Growth and decay, wet and dry, perpetual change has been at the heart of the Kinabatangan for millions of years. The key to the river's survival has been its capacity to adapt.
The Kinabatangan is just so vibrant, from the coastline to the swamps and to the upper stream. There has to be a balance of economy and ecology. There should be a concerted effort between the politicians, the conservationists, and the local people, because extinction is forever. There's a big danger of losing our key species like the orangutans and elephants. They may disappear in the next generation.
As long as there are people prepared to rise to meet these challenges, there is hope that this mighty river system and its wild inhabitants will endure.
With the current conservation work and our forest status, it's not too late to save whatever's left. And as a photographer, I will be an ambassador of the Kinabatangan to ensure that this place is preserved.
As it collides with the coastline, the mighty Kinabatangan River flows into the Sulu Sea and the glorious Coral Triangle. This water that has travelled so far is about to begin the journey all over again. In this warm tropical sea, the sun evaporates the water, which rises as vapour, forming clouds which travel back towards the mountains, which force them higher, cooling them so that they fall as rain. Rain which once more swells the many rivulets and streams that flow over Imbak Falls and into the Amazon of the East.